Hi there, welcome back to another episode of Talkin Fight. Tonight we have again on the show our three panelists, Mike,
How's it going, guys?
Eric,
Hey,
and Christian.
Good to be here.
Right on, that's a change of pace. Tonight we're going to start things off with a little bit of a history lesson, courtesy of Christian, who was watching some classic YouTube video today.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest, one of the biggest upsets in boxing history. I am a bit of a history buff, as you know. So I sat down today to actually spend some time with the Braddock Baer fight of 1935. Most people have heard of this fight. If you haven't, Russell Crowe was in Cinderella Man, was a movie they did about it. I think it was 2005 they did that. And it was mostly historically accurate. Only they made Max Baer into a bit of a villain in the movie, which wasn't really accurate in real life. Now going into this, Jim Braddock was 20 pounds lighter and considerably shorter than Max Baer. It was a surprise to everyone that he had made it that far. This is how he ended up this rag to riches story as the Cinderella Man. 15-round fight. And just sitting here and watching this 1930s boxing, it blew my mind, because things that you picture as being very cartoony, you're seeing Baer do these things, where you see the classic images of the boxer with his hands on his hips and he's prancing back and forth, kind of with a sneer on his face after taking 2 or 3 jabs in a row from Braddock. As opposed to retaliating, he was very much sneering and feigning and clowning around for like the first half of this fight. And it was all these old cliches. And in the end, this is what cost him this huge fight. And the title. Madison Square Garden was known at the time as the graveyard of champions, because nobody had ever successfully defended a heavyweight title. And Baer wasn't about to do so either. But just watching the style and watching these guys just go completely off balance and then have time to recover, and just things that you watch modern fights and you're watching these old ones, and you're screaming at the TV going, these things had never happened. And just, the training differences and the footwork or lack thereof.
Just the physical physique of the athletes as well. Like when you see these guys dancing around the ring for 15 rounds and you look at them and you're like, how are they even able to be in the ring with these flabby guts and these little flappy arms, but they're still able to come in here and just, pound it out round after round after round and just, save face, I guess. And watching these fights was hilarious with all those little, cartoonish gags and stuff, the old Fighting Irish style fight and all that kind of stuff. It's way different time in boxing.
Baer must have spent a full minute of that in time. It was 15 rounds, but he probably spent collectively an entire minute with his hands on his hips, and not just tugging out his waistband, but just dancing around with his hands on his hips. Probably spent a full 60 seconds of that fight doing that. And did a little bit of research on the fight as well after, I watched it through a couple of times. And just as a fun fact, how much money they were making back then versus today. Max Baer, as the heavyweight champion of the world going into that fight, it was agreed. They took a percentage of the door back then. Max Baer walked out with a little under $90,000. And Braddock, even though he won that fight, walked away with just over $30,000.
So what's that in Canadian or in there
modern?
You go.
And so using some super accurate talk and fight maths here, that would have the buying power today. Baer would have had about $1.7 million he made on that fight, and Braddock would have made just a shade under $600,000.
Huh. Wow. Speaking of old fights, let's bring up the Diego Corrales and Castillo match, slugfest. Maybe arguably called one of the greatest comebacks of all time in boxing. 10th round, Corrales is knocked down twice and gets back to his feet and ends up finishing off the 10th round with a knockout. Crazy fight. What a slugfest. 2 guys stood in front of each other. It would have been nice to see another rematch, but unfortunately, Corrales died in a motorcycle accident a couple of years later before they got to finish their trilogy. But it was an amazing battle. The sheer power and ferocity of both those fighters going head to head. Just their faces looking like, they got hit by a truck. And in the 10th round, get knocked down twice, but still have the heart to be able to stand up, give it your all, and come back and finish that round by knocking out your opponent after you've been already knocked twice yourself. It's incredible. And honestly, I think it does go down as one of the greatest comebacks in boxing history today.
Which way do you think it would have gone if...
I was going to say, if there's a standing 8 count.
Actually, the standing eight happened twice. Actually, the protection count happened. They also say there was a bit of controversy there because Corrales did spit his mouth guard out and was warned about it, which gave him some extra time to recoup. And that was some of the controversy surrounding that fight was, that those extra 5 seconds that he got, to put his mouth guard back in after he purposely spit it out. Did that give him enough time that he needed to recoup to be able to come through with that victory and really knock him out? I believe that could have played a big part in that.
Right on.
5 seconds.
Bring us to the modern era. Derek, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, there's a giant fight happening tomorrow night. It's the WBO welterweight, and it's Terence Crawford and Kell Brooks. So I'm excited for that. Mike, what's the record? I think you got that down.
We got Terence Crawford, 36-0 with 27 knockouts.
Yeah.
Today is probably pound for pound one of the best boxers on the planet, and he's going to face Brook, who is 39-2 and 27 KOs. And it's looking like it's going to be a real big battle. You got
I think so.
Title defense here and a former IBF welterweight champion, Kell Brook. This is going to be a slugfest. These guys are both real exciting, explosive fighters, great combinations, great footwork. Crawford has great, exceptional speed, movement. His counterpunching abilities are unbelievable. I think he does have a definite advantage in the ring. Though Brook is one of the best boxers of the present generation, his fights have they speak for themselves.
That's it's funny. I agree, and it's funny that Kell Brooks Terence Crawford is really the favorite in this one by a big margin, but I wouldn't count Brooks out at all, because that guy's a warrior. If you guys have ever seen the fight with not Triple G, but with Errol Spence Jr.
Yeah.
He was actually leading in the scorecards right up to, I think it was the 10th round. The 10th round, he caught one, and it was a hard one, and it was good, and he went down. And most guys and it was early in the round too, so he wasn't going to get saved by the bell on this one. And but he showed a lot of heart, because most guys, like, when that happens and it's early in the round, you just end up like holding on and you hold on to your opponent and but he didn't. He kept going. Like, he kept trying to fight back, even though you could see his legs were a bit wobbly, but he kept charging forward, right? And he survived the round, but I don't know if he survived the round, but he ended up taking a knee in the next round because his eye was all like puffy and then I think he was having trouble with his vision. And the same thing happened with the Triple G fight just previous to that. So he's plagued with some eye problems, but if it wasn't that, I think he could have taken it almost. I think he was either equal or ahead on the scorecards at that point. So he's a warrior, to come back and do that.
With that being said, honestly, like, this is anybody's game. Like, anybody could win this match. You got the welterweight champ. He's coming off of a 9th round TKO win. While Brooks is also coming off of 3-fight winning streak. So it's anybody's game at this point. I think Brook is going to be coming out real hungry. I think he's got a lot to prove coming in as the underdog, even though he is one of the baddest men on the planet as well. Yep,
and he does. He has a lot to prove because he lost to Triple G, to Golovkin, and he also lost to Errol Spence, even though he won the last 3. But I think he's got a lot to prove and a lot to win by it. So he's going to go in there hungry, and I think he's looking.
He's gonna have a lot. He's gonna have a lot of pressure on him in this fight. Crawford's ability to switch stances easily helps him adjust and neutralize his opponent's game. But Brooks is strictly an orthodox fighter, so he's gonna have to come real prepared.
Exactly. And normally I'm not like a huge fan of watching like a southpaw against like orthodox, because it's always an awkward fight all the time. Like, you know, both guys are, you know, they're jabbing and they're punching each other's gloves and like missing. It's like it's an awkward style fight, but this one's going to be good. And I think like after that, if you get Terence Crawford with Errol Spence, because they're both southpaws, right? That'll be an interesting one
I
too.
believe there's talk about that fight coming up as well. But
Yeah.
Earl Spence Jr. Crawford was booked to face the undefeated champ, Earl Spence Jr., but car crash sidelined him. So he's going to fight. He's actually going to end up fighting Danny Garcia after he makes a full recovery.
Oh, cool. That's great.
So that'll be another bout to watch.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny too. Like I think Terence Crawford is like an inch shorter than Kell Brooks, but he's got a 5-inch reach advantage.
Oh wow,
it's crazy. He's got big long arms.
He's dragging his knuckles in the ring.
Yeah, that's a good advantage, right?
It is. That reach is great, man. When you have the reach, you can keep the guy to the outside. You know, when you don't have the reach, you got to play the inside game, and sometimes, you know, you take a lot of damage trying to get to that inside, you know, to stay away from that full potential of that reach of your opponent.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things. It's hard to fight, and then, you know, then you got orthodox versus southpaw, and there's a whole lot of factors that come into this, and it's going to make for a real exciting fight.
I think so too. I'm excited to tune in and see it,
Definitely.
How it plays out.
Well, there's certainly a lot of chatter on the internet about those two guys, as well as Mike Tyson and his fight coming, as well as out of England, Anthony Joshua, heavyweight.
Yeah.
I think he's either booked for a fight already, or he's looking. I can't remember. But the heavyweight title, I think, is up for grabs right now.
I think so, yeah.
But it's kind of funny to read the comments about this fight with Tyson, whether it's just purely entertainment, because it doesn't really matter.
It seems to be hyped up that way. But so he said he's gonna the whole purse. He's gonna if he wins, he's gonna, you know, it's gonna go to charity. But have you guys heard if Roy Jones is gonna donate his to charity or not?
It doesn't. I think Roy Jones's purse is based on pay-per-view sales. I read somewhere.
Oh,
and
yeah.
if pay-per-view this sells well, which it should, you know, everyone's at home, we're all on lockdown.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's supposed to make about 10.5 million, and Tyson is going to make 10 million, which, yeah, again, he has claimed that he is going to donate in its entirety to charity.
Yeah, I know he's like, I think everyone thinks Tyson's the favorite, but I wouldn't count out Roy Jones either. I mean, that guy had some insane hand speed, and what a hook on him too. I mean,
oh wow,
like probably the best ever.
Don't count out. You can't count out Roy Jones Jr. As much as I love Tyson and I want to see him win this, you know, it could go either way.
Absolutely.
I just can't wait to see these guys hit each other with pillows on their hands.
Yeah,
big 16-ounce gloves, you know, bag training gloves, and then some headgear too. It's gonna be funny to see these guys.
Yeah. Oh, are they wearing headgear for this too?
They're wearing headgear too. The World Boxing Commission would not give them insurance apparently. Unless
they're worth way too much money now. They're worth way too much money. Mike Tyson, he's worth too much money. You can't break him.
No. Yeah, that'll be a good one. That'll be an interesting one to watch. It's really getting hyped up a lot. And I know they've pushed the date back, I think, like once now, just to try and get more, build a little bit more hype around it, right? Get more.
Well, this hype is all because Mike Tyson's launching that Legends Only League to give the legendary athletes a place to compete. And I believe that him and Roy Jones might have had something to do with launching it together.
Maybe.
I believe.
It's not because it's interesting. There's not a lot of trash talk between them. Like they're hyping it up, but they're both sort of somewhat respectful, right? It's.
I think they're past that point in their careers where they have to do that, right?
The testosterone's come down a little bit, right? You know,
I mean, Tyson didn't really trash talk anyway. That was Don King's job.
The greatest part about it is it's called the Legends Only League. The acronym is LOL.
Yeah. That's good.
It's gonna be funny. It's gonna be great to see these guys pound each other out. But I think Mike Tyson, you know, he's not taking it lightly. He's not thinking this is.
No, he's not.
He's going in there and he's going to do what everybody watches Mike Tyson do every time he gets in the ring. He's going to go in there and he's going to try and take your head off. I've watched numerous training videos and he's almost taken the head off of some of his pad guys, man. Like just ferocity and his ferociousness of training is just unbelievable this time.
It's just, I think it's just like drilled into, like he's just being drilled into him over the years, and like you just can't change. You can't change that.
You don't lose that. You don't lose it. No matter how much you take time off, it's always going to come back. It might take a little longer to come back, but it'll come back. It's like riding a bike. You don't forget how to punch people out.
I'd love to see the job. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for the job interview to be Mike Tyson's pad guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no thanks.
Hey, listen, I just got the call from the producers. Our time's running short.
Right.
Any last comments, Mike?
Yeah, guys, tune in next week, please. Keep following us. Keep following us. Thanks again for the wonderful hosting job you're doing, Grant.
My pleasure.
Looking forward to tomorrow night's fight and to chatting with you guys about what happens. So
definitely. Make sure you guys watch it. Yeah. Make sure you guys watch it so we have some nice things to discuss in our next episode.
Perfect.
Derek, last word, Derek.
Same thing. I echo that. I'm looking forward to the fight tomorrow night. It's going to be a good one, and lots more to chat about next week.
For sure.
Definitely.
Thanks very much, guys, and thanks very much, listeners. Hit subscribe, please, and hit that notification button so you get all our updates. Thank you. Good night, guys.
Great.
Have a good night.
Good night.